Hey guys, so this annotated book list is kind of my attempt to live in the tension between what is critically valued and what kids are actually reading. I'm trying to build on something that reflects like quality young adult literature and the reality of what actually draws them in. Because if there's one thing I've taken away from this class, it's that those things don't always overlap, but they both matter. So here's my list. Off the top of the stack. The Last of the Really Great Whangdoodles by the Julie Andrews. I'm starting with the most juvenile book on my list, the youngest of the young adult, if you will, because I have really strong memories of this book. My GT teacher read it aloud to us in like 6th grade, and I just got completely lost in this fantasy world. I was consumed, and I needed to know everything about the weird soda fountains and the world building, and I was on the quest with the kids that needed to see things in a different way. And even if it skews younger, this is the kind of book that shows how imagination hooks readers early, which is foundational, I think, to young adult literacy. My next book, because I had to include a graphic novel, is Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, the graphic novel. I have an abiding respect for graphic novels, and I think they're really important in young adult literature. I'll never forget when my sister got into them, I didn't really think they were valid because I was like reading stuff. It didn't count as much as what I was reading because I wasn't reading anything with pictures in it. And my mom was like, why not? Because yeah, why not? Graphic novels require a different kind of literacy. It's visual plus text, and that's super important. And this one, it connects to Nightmare Before Christmas, which already has this built-in audience. It brings in this kind of imagery in a way that traditional novels don't always do. But I feel like that cult following, just really helps it out. And I mentioned the next book. I'm just kind of throwing books everywhere, I guess. I mentioned Crave already in another video, so I won't spend too much time on it. But I had to include it because my oldest daughter got into reading because of this book. It's not critically acclaimed, but she got into it because it was marketed well. And it felt accessible, and that's incredibly important. This is what I would consider a gateway young adult book. Something that pulls readers in, even if it's not showing up on lists. Like, merit lists. It's not winning any awards, but it did in my house. Okay, so for my best-selling pick, even though this was a bestseller too. Fourth Wing. And I'm just going to say it. I think it's a little overrated. I really liked it. Don't come at me. Gave me strong Harry Potter vibes, but with more dragons, violence, and sex. Traditionally, young adult literature is focused on adolescent protagonists, though, coming-of-age themes, and content that's broadly considered appropriate for teen readers. This has all of that, but complicates it. While it follows the young protagonist's school-like setting, it also includes significantly more explicit violence, romantic hardships, relationships, dynamics, and sexual content than one would deem typical for young adult text. And I kind of think that that's where we get into this like new adult subgenre thing. New adult fiction tends to center around characters who are slightly older, late teens, early 20s, and explores more mature themes around identity, independence, and relationships. And Fourth Wing kind of sits in that gray area. It's got the accessibility and the pacing of young adult, but the content and more emotional intensity of adult fantasy. But that kind of makes us think about how books are consumed. So even though Fourth Wing is often shelved with adult fantasy, it's been like widely adopted by young readers. Like especially through platforms like Book Talk and throughout social media, which suggests to us that like readership is not really strictly determined by those publishing categories we talked about. It's shaped more by community and recommendations and reader interest. Moving on. This is my nonfiction pick, and it's also my Hear Me Out book. This is the Ku Klux Klan in 1920s Arkansas. So a few weeks ago, my 12-year-old son, got grounded from electronics. And so he went to my bookshelf to find something to read, which is kind of dangerous in and of itself, but, you know. Out of everything, he picked this book, which, no, it's not age appropriate. It's not easy. It's not a good fit. It's not anything I would have thought he would have picked up, but maybe that's exactly the point. The KKK is horrifying, but also historically important. And kids, especially of middle school age, are often drawn to things that are uncomfortable, even a little morbid. So I think including nonfiction like this acknowledges that curiosity doesn't always follow what we think is appropriate, but it can still be educational. So hear me out. Maybe not for every 12-year-old, but that's my nonfiction pick. Next one, To Kill a Mockingbird. Speaking of racism. This is my critically acclaimed pick because it shows up in basically every major list for young adult. It won a Pulitzer Prize, the movie won Academy Awards. I read it in the 8th grade, so I feel like if you're in this class, I don't really need to explain why this belongs here. But it is kind of one of the standards for how young adult texts can tackle big themes like justice, morality, race. That's why I made the list. Also, my 9-year-old's name is Harper. That's all. This book, the next on my list is the Carnivale of Curiosities by Amy Gibbs. I'm including this one for a different reason. I don't really know much about it. My next door neighbor, actually, she's a total reader. We share books back and forth, but she gave it to my daughter as a birthday present. My 15-year-old daughter. She just turned 15. And it made me stop and think that this is what's being labeled as young adult. Because she gave it to me for my young adult reader. It's darker, it's longer, it feels complex. I'll read a little bit off the back of it for you. It says, grave secrets, recovered horrors, and what it means to be family come to a head in this vividly imagined spectacle with the lives of all of those involved suspended in the balance. But about sideshows in Victorian London. But I think that kind of taps into what we were talking about with adults projecting what they think kids should be reading versus what they actually connect with. Because I don't think my daughter's read this one yet either. Don't tell Christina. And last but not least, I'm including Dungeon Crawler Carl. I've seen this all over social media. My younger brother is 25. So technically not a young adult recommendation, but to me, he will always be a young adult. So it kind of feels like this book crosses into that space anyway. And I kind of feel that way about all things that we're hearing about through book talk and social media in general. Maybe it's because our kids are getting more mature recommendations than they need. Maybe not. But this is what they're picking up. It's apparently got aliens, survival. There's a prize-winning cat involved. I don't know. It's chaotic, but sounds pretty cool. It also sounds pretty mature. But I think that just reinforces how blurry the young adult category has become. I'm taking it with me on vacation as soon as I submit this final. So wish me luck with Carl. To wrap up, I think that my list kind of sums up that young adult literature isn't just what's considered good by institutional standards or even by ratings, even by sales standards. It's about what actually gets read, what sticks with readers and makes them want to keep reading. Because at the end of the day, if a book gets picked up, whether it's Whangdoodles, Winged Sex Dragons, or something way deeper in content, that's where reading starts.